Dasa karuna kori. Oh he Vaishnava Thakura Doira Sagara Dasa karuna kori. Diyapada chai shoda he amaya Chadana dori Jaya Begadomi, Jaya Dosha Shodi, Jaya Guna Deho Dase. Jaya Begadomi, Jaya Dosha Shodi, Jaya Guna Deho Dase. Jaya Satsanga, Deho He Amare. Boshashi Changera Ashe Deho He Amare Ekaki Amar Nahi Pai Balo Harinama Sankirtane Tumi kripa kori shada bindu diya deho Krishna namadane. Tumi kripa kori shada bindu diya deho Krishna namadane. Krishna se tomar Krishna dhite paro tomara shakti ache. Amito Ganga Krishna Krishna Boli Daitava Pache Pache Amito Ganga Krishna Krishna Boli Daitava Pache Pache Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur Doyara Sagara Dasa karuna kori. Oh he Vaishnava Thakur Doyara Sagara Dasa karuna kori. Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Ujvala Varana Guravara Deham Vilasita Niravari Bhava Videham Alavarana Guravara Deham. It's broken? Uh-oh. anyone have another harmonium? Tribhuna pa. Just give me the note. Gauravara deham. Ivasita niravari bhava videham. Tribhuvana pavana kripayalesham tam pranamami cha shisha chitannayam. Gadgaram thara baba vikaram durjana tarjana nada vishalam. Gadgaram tara baba vikar. Do you need cartels? Gadgaram tara baba vikaram durjana tarjana nada vishalam. Bhavaya bhajana karana karanam tam pranamami cha shisha chitannayam. Yay! Arnam bharadara charukapolam Indu vinindita nakachaya ruchiram. Jalpita nijaguna nama vinodam tam pranamami cha shisha chitannayam. Vigalita nayana kamala jaladharam bhushana navarasa bhava vikaram. Gatiyati bantara ditya vilasam tam pranamami cha shisha chitannayam. Jai Sachinandan Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Chanchala charu charada kattiru chiram manjira ranjita para juka madhuram. Chandra Vindita Shitala Varanam tam pranamami cha shisha chitannayam. Tritakati dora kamandalu dandam Divyakalevara mundita mundam. Go Premanande Gurjana Kalmasha Kandana Dandam Tam Pranamami Cha Shisha Chitannayam. Sachinandan Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Bhushana Bhuraja Lakavalitam Kambita Vindara Vararuchiram. Malayaja Virachita Ujvala Tilakam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Shachitandayam Nindita Aruna Kamala Dalanayanam Ajalulam Vitta Shri Bhuja Jugalam Kalevara Kaishora Nartaka Vesham Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Shachitandayam Sachinandan Gaurar Hari Ki Jai Ujvala Varana Gauravara Deham Ilasita Niravadi Bhava Videham Pavana Kripaya Lesham Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Shachitandayam Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Gaurahari Sachinandana Jai Gaurahari Nitai Gaur Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaur Hari Bo Vivavadi Shesha Aloka Pravisha Nidratari Uttajiva Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva Shingamana Shri Madhusudana Rajendra Nandana Shama Bhutana Gatana Koitava Shatana Jaya Dasharati Rama Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bhara Ravanata Kara Makanata Skara Gopi Jana Vastrahare Prajera Rakala Gopa Vrindapala Chittahare Vanshidare Yogindra Vandana Shinandanandana Vrajajana Bayahari Navina Nirara Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamshi Vihari Yashum Anandavadana Kamsa Nishudana Nikunja Anandavadana Premaniketana Ulashara Jojakama Kangaragana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Gunagana Dhamma Jamuna Jivana Kiliparayana Manasa Chandra Chakora Nam Shudarasa Gao Krishna Jasha Rakova Chanda Manamora Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Hamara jivana sadapapirata nahi ko punyeralisha sadapapirata nahi ko punyeralisha ईदलस्य हतसि कर्ये विरता अकर्ये उद्योगियामि
Yasvacha iti samprashna samhrishto vipranam brahmaharshani pratipuja vachastesham prabhaktum upachakrane sutuvacha yam prabhancham hitakrityam Vaipayano viraha kartara ajuhava putreti tanmayataya taravo binedus tansarva bhuta hridayamunim anatosmi yasvanubhavam akila shuti saramekam adhyatmadhipam atititirshatam tamondam samsarinam karunayaha purana guhyam tam vyasa sunum upayami guru muninam narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayam udhiraye munayak sadhu prishtoham Bhavadbir lokamangalam yat krita Krishna samprashno inatmasu prasidati savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhoksaje ahaitukya pratiyata yayatmasu prasidati savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti Radhoksaje Haitukya Tam Yatma Suprasidati. Did we miss one? We missed one. Go back, please. Munayak sadhu prishtoham bhavad birloka mangalam yakrita Krishna samprashno yinatma suprasidati. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir dhoksaje ahaitukya pratiyata yayatma suprasidati vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yoga prayojitaha janayatya shivairagyam jnanam cha yadahaitukam dharma shvanustita pumsam Shvaksena katasuya notpada yedhiratim shrama eva hi kevalam dharmasya hyapavargasya nartorta yopakalpate nartasya dharmaikantasya kamolabhaya hi smitaha kamasya nendriya pritir Labo jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jignasa narto yasche hakarmavi vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam prameti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdate tashchadadhana munayo Gana vairagya yuktaya pasyantyatmani chatmanam bhaktya shruta grihitaya atapumbir dvija shreshta varnashrama vibhagashaha swanushti sasya dharmasya samsatir haritoshanam tasmade kena manasa Bhagavan Sattvatam Pati Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Dheya Pujascha Nityada Yad Anudyasina Yukta Karma Granti Nibandanam Chintanti Kovidas Tasya Kona Kuryat Kataratim Shushusho Shadadhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevana Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantaksto Hyabhadrani Vitunoti Suhritsatam Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kamaloba Dayashchaye Cheta Iter Anabhidham Stitam Satve Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaya Grantish Chijante Sarva Samshaya Shiyante Chasya Karmani Drishtaiva Manishvare Atovai Kavayo Nityam Bhaktim Paramayambuddha Vasudeve Bhagavati Kurvantyatma Prasadanim Sapvam Rajastamayiti Prakritir Gunastar Yukta Para Purusha Eka Ihasya Dhate Stityadaye Hari Varinshi Hareti Sangya Shayamsi Tatra Kalu Sapvatano Nrinamsu Parthiva Dharano Dumas Tasmanagnis Trayimayaha Tamasastura Jastasman Tatvam Yad Brahmadarshanam Bhijre Muneyo Tagre Bhagavantam Badhokshajam Sattvam Vishuddham Shemaya Kalpante Yenu Tanniha Mumukshavo Gaura Rupan Hitva Bhuta Patinata Narayana Kalashanta Bhajanti Hyana Suyava Rajastama Prakritaya Samashila Bhajanti Vai Pitrir Bhuta Pajesha Din Shri Aishvarya Prajepsavaha Vasudeva Paraveda Vasudeva Paramakaha Vasudeva Parayoga Vasudeva Parakriyaha Vasudeva Param Jnanam Vasudeva Param Tapaha Vasudeva Paro Dharmo Vasudeva Paragatihi Sa evedam sasarjagre Bhagavanatma Mayaya Sarasadrupaya Chasau Gunamaya Guno Vibhu Taya Vilasite Shweshu Guneshu Gunavan Eva Antak Pravishta Abhati Vijnanena Vrajrimbrita Yata Yavahito Bhanir Dorushvaka Swayonishu Naneva Bhati Vishvatma Bhuteshu Cha Tatapuman Asau Gunamayer Bhaver Bhuta Sukshmendriyatmabi Swanirmiteshu Nirvishto Bhukte Bhuteshu Tadgunan Bhavayat Yesha Satvena Lokan Vai Lokabhavanaha Lilavataranurato Devatiryan Naradishu Iti Srimad Bhagavate Mahapurane Paramahansyam Samitayam Pratamaskande Naimishyo Prakyane Dvitiyo Dhyayataha Hari Om Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Jaya Girivardhari Balaba Jaya Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balaba Jaya Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodandana Yashodandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Unatira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. No, just up in the Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. All right, we'll get it later. Hari Bol. Got to start somewhere. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a transformational experience. The Srimad Bhagavatam is a presentation by Srila Vyasadeva, who is called the literary incarnation of Krishna. Krishna is one, but he manifests himself into many so that he can enjoy pastimes. And one of his greatest of all pastimes is saving the individual souls who have somehow or other fallen into the lower energies of the material world. And it's not so easy to get out. So one needs help, intervention. And one of the main means of intervention that Krishna provides personally is the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's quite handy because humans like books, and they keep them at home. Most books in the world don't help us to rise above the three modalities of the world, the lower energies, at which time we are, at the present time, we are ensconced. But the Srimad Bhagavatam does. It has stories, and it has instruction, which people like because we're used to hearing stories from the time that we're children. Hopefully your parents told you a story, didn't they? And generally, people are attracted to go to films because there's a story involved. And we want to know what's going to happen, and we can also relate to people doing things that we might do also, but we can learn something by watching others. So there's stories in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are also instructions. People read a lot of books of instruction, like Think Like a Monk, or the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, and so forth. There's lots of instructions. We'd like to know what I can do to make my life better. The Srimad Bhagavatam has all of this. It has stories that teach, and it's speaking to us as a friend. And it's also, in many parts, very poetical. So it attracts the ear also. So in the story of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a king who's in a tough situation. Even kings get in tough situations. This is one of the great lessons of the Bhagavatam. In fact, one might ask, why are there so many kings mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam? And one of the great teachers of Bhakti Yoga from antiquity says, because everyone thinks if I just become a king, then everything is going to be all right. But actually it's not. Because the issue isn't what our external circumstances may be, what designation I might have at the present time. Someone might say you're king, or you're the richest man in the world. But the way that the material world works is that you can be the richest man, and then soon afterwards, not only the poorest man, but you can also become the most notorious. In other words, especially nowadays, all you have to do is find an email from 20 years ago, and then you lose your job. And you become, whereas you were a great hero, now you're not. You're despicable in the eyes of society. So that's the way the material world churns. And the kings are not exempt, nor the queens. Queen Kunti is an example. She had more trouble than practically anybody. And the Srimad Bhagavatam gives a lesson to show us not only how to deal with adversity in the world by watching those who dealt with it correctly and those who dealt with it incorrectly. We learn from Queen Kunti how she took it, whatever twists and turns were there in her life, as the arrangement of Krishna to purify her. And we learn from Pururava about what it looks like to be ridiculously attached. Pururava. What it looks like to be ridiculously attached in the material world. Oftentimes when people come to me and they say, oh, I'm so attached to such and such or so and so, I say, here, read this story and come back and let's talk about it. And they read it and come back, okay, I understand what you're talking about. Is that how I look? So yeah, that's kind of how you look. You decide for yourself. So in that way, the Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us by giving examples of what can happen in the world to kings, to queens, what the responsible person does, and how those who don't have a stake in the world paradoxically end up better off than everybody else. In fact, the speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami, he had so little stake in the world that he didn't even bother to stop and buy any clothes. He was like, I'm only here for a few minutes. I don't want to get into the style thing. And so he just didn't invest in the material world at all. Even when he was in the womb, he was not so inclined to come out. Because when a living being is in the womb, that little living force may consciously become aware that I've been here before. Have you ever been in that situation where you told somebody or you told God that if you get me out of this, I'll never do it again? And then you did it again. And there you were sitting there going like, why did I just do that again? Well, that's the material world. And those who become evolved spiritually and come to a certain level of comprehension of their relationship with the Supreme, and who understand how sweet it is and how relishable it is, and actually how there's a kind of anxiousness to, to please the Supreme. You wouldn't want to do anything to jeopardize the relationship or to do something unseemly in the eyes of the person that you're trying to impress. So it's that kind of relationship that advanced spiritualists have with God, with Krishna. They understand that he's a person and that he's all accommodating. And just like parents, when they're accommodating to their children, the children have been taught what to do. And at a certain point of their maturity, instead of having to be told, they think, I'm going to do it preemptively to please my parents. So at the beginning of spiritual advancement, one begins to think like this. And most living entities who are in the womb, the Srimad Bhagavatam recounts, come out and then forget. They get overwhelmed. Even though in the womb they make earnest prayers. This is a very painful situation to have had the opportunity to see one's plight and then to pray, please, let me be good. I will be good, I promise. But then to come out and again be overwhelmed. So Shukadeva Goswami showing us how important it is to start early. How early can you start? When you're in the womb. Don't take it for granted. I'll wait till I get out. I'll wait till I'm 16. I'll wait till I'm 24. I'll wait till I have a job. In fact, Radhagiri Hari Prabhu said, people who start businesses and they say, wait till I make a lot of money, then I'll give a percentage. He said, they never do. But the ones who say, okay, before I start this business, then I'm going to give 50%. That's just the way it is. He said, they give the 50% and they thrive more than anyone. Their life and their business has great meaning. And he said, oddly, that they do better than most people too, even after giving 50%. So one who realizes, Bahunam Janmanamante Gyadavam Mam Prapadyate, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, that everything really is meant for Krishna. I don't have anything in this world. And someone might say, well, what happens if I surrender to Krishna? Will he maintain me? And then we might ask then, who's maintaining you now? What are you talking about when you surrender? He's already maintaining you. And Prahlad Maharaj said, count up everything you have, all your money, the job you have, the boss you have, the car you have, the house you have, the water you're getting through the faucet, the food you're getting, the air, the light. Count it all up. It's all coming from Krishna right now. It's not that you have to wait till you surrender to see if Krishna will maintain you. Just see right now. He's already maintaining. So the devotee who has this awareness remains in this surrendered state in every circumstance. This morning when we sang Amara Jivana, I was thinking, why is this so sweet to be in this song, Amara Jivana? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the great teacher of bhakti, is in a way demonstrating how we should feel when we're approaching life. And he's singing a tale of woe. That's W-O-E. That I blew it. I'm so filled with bad qualities and incompetent in every single way. I'm happy when other people are miserable. I'm miserable when other people are happy. I'm always speaking lies. And then we sing it also, and then it feels good. Because to admit one's faults and to come to terms that, okay, I'm a prisoner here by my own choice in the material world, and then to have an inkling of hope that, yes, I'm going to surrender to Krishna. So Shukadeva Goswami in the womb says, I'm not coming out, just to show us how dangerous the material world is. And then Krishna comes and convinces him, you can come out. You won't be affected. But even when he does come out, and he's got the most exalted family on the planet, it doesn't get many better than having Srila Vyasadeva and his wife there. He just turns around and leaves. And they're like, wait, come get just a little something. Sacred thread. And it's like, he doesn't even turn back. That's Shukadeva Goswami. That's who spoke the Bhagavatam. He walked off naked. Didn't come back. Well, he did come back because he went to the forest and then he realized there was something higher than just ignoring everything. Vyasadeva was very shrewd. He sent some of his disciples into the forest where his son was staying, and they began to recite verses from this book, the Srimad Bhagavatam. And much is made of this because oftentimes in spiritual teachings, there's a direction that is given that we should come out of the entanglement of the material world. And the material world is like negative numbers on a number line. But when then you get this instruction, just don't stay engaged the way you are, then you come up to zero. And after being in the negative numbers, zero looks very positive. But then somebody will come along and say, yeah, but you're still at zero. And so the Srimad Bhagavatam sings to us in our ears that there's something beyond zero. It's on the other side of the number line. It's positive. It's what you're actually looking for. But not only are you not getting it, it's putting you in a deeper hole. And you know what they say? If you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. So you come to zero, and then there's the sounds of the spiritual world, and there's something to do. There's a service that one can do. So when Shukadeva Goswami heard this sound vibration of the Srimad Bhagavatam, he was enlivened and he came back to his father, only for the purpose of learning the Srimad Bhagavatam. And after fully imbibing the Srimad Bhagavatam, he went off out of a sense of mercy that maybe I can give it to someone else. That was his only purpose in moving. And if that's the only reason you're maintaining your job and your house and everything else that you have in your life, that this gives me a base from which I can give mercy to others, then your house and your job and your money doesn't become a burden. And it actually is considered as part of the equation for devotional service. Not only that, you're not subjected to the same anxiety that everybody else is in the material world. And then Shukadev, by the arrangement of the divine, met Parikshit Maharaj, who had been cursed to die in 7 days, and had gone to the bank of the Ganges, sat down with the intention of figuring out, what do I do with the last 7 days of my life? Now, there's a lot of people who write little vignettes on the internet these days about people supposedly who, in their last final days, said what they wished they had done more of in their life. Have you ever seen these? Yeah, they say, I wish I had spent more time walking in the fields and smelling the flowers, and I should have baked more bread instead of buying Wonder Bread at the store. And I wish I had spent more time with family. And often people are quick to point out, it's like nobody says, I wish I worked harder and I was a little nicer to my boss or something like that. But there's this inclination that one has to retrospect and say, oh, I could have done better. But the Bhagavatam gives the perfect retrospective preemptively. That doesn't make sense at all. But it sounds paradoxical. But it gives us an opportunity to now look and see, how can I best use my life? Because we can identify with Parikshit Maharaj in his 7 days. He has 7 days to live. And then, of course, we don't know how many days we have, except that we're going to die on one of these days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So some have said, but we also have 7 days. That's all we get. One of those days we're going to leave. So by getting that perspective from the Bhagavatam and seeing how Krishna arranged for Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj to meet, we can know for sure that if we're sincerely interested in advancing in spiritual life, Krishna will make an arrangement for us because he's waiting there within our heart and observing our very psychic movements, our intentions. And devotional service means to refine and recover our intention for devotional service. It's a recovery group we're in here, in case you didn't know. We're trying to recover our intention. Right now it's lost. Oh, not for you, for some of us. When we recover our intention by hearing the intentions of Parikshit Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam, his intention was, I'm going to use these final days of my life to understand what to do, what's my duty at the time of death. It's the perfect conversation. So Shukadeva Goswami, completely detached from the world, and not only that, he's learned through Srimad Bhagavatam completely from his father, and Parikshit Maharaj, who's desperately hungry for spiritual knowledge. When these two come together, these two personalities come together, then what results is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then if we have even a spark of interest in spiritual life, by hearing their conversation, then that spark will conflagrate and become a fire in our hearts. And we need that to be happy. You just can't be happy without it. Otherwise, we're sleepwalking here in the material world. And before, I don't know, California used to be nice in the 1950s and 60s, even 1989 when I moved up here. But it's not, it won't work anymore. The whole material world's burning down. Everyone's fighting against each other. And it's wrecked. Somebody wrecked it. They broke the whole material world. I mean, it was already kind of messed up, but now it's broken. So don't spend any more time here, and don't dally, and don't think, well, maybe California will go back to the way it was, and the world and everyone. No, Bhagavatam says it's not getting better. It's the only thing you can do is to ignite the spiritual fire within your heart and then change your occupation to one of giving mercy to others. Become an instrument for this. Learn it, live in it, and give it to as many other people as possible. Then you won't get burned by the fire. And at the end of this lifetime, you can go back to the spiritual world. That's just a little introduction to what the Srimad Bhagavatam is. And I want to read a couple verses if you wouldn't mind. Only, I'm going to have to lift my mask down a little because my glasses are steaming up too much to see. Do you mind? For a sec. Just keep your distance. This is the preface to the Srimad Bhagavatam. It was written by Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who understood the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam and therefore brought it with him to America. He only brought a small part. But he was so bold that he went around selling the whole Srimad Bhagavatam before it was written. He'd have people buy it before he even wrote it. It's like, that's how urgent this was. And then he spent all his time, well, not all his time, but he organized his schedule in such a way that he had time to write Srimad Bhagavatam, translate and write commentaries every single day. But that meant that he didn't have time for a few other things, like sleeping is one of them. So here's the tenor of his voice. You'll hear why he presented Srimad Bhagavatam to the world. We must know the present need of human society. And what is that need? Human society is no longer bounded by geographical limits to particular countries or communities. Human society is broader than in the Middle Ages, and the world tendency is toward one state or one human society. The ideals of spiritual communism, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, are based more or less on the oneness of the entire human society, nay, on the entire energy of living beings. The need is felt by great thinkers to make this a successful ideology. Srimad Bhagavatam will fulfill this need in human society. It begins, therefore, with the aphorism of Vedanta philosophy, Janmad Yasya Yataha, to establish the ideal of a common cause. Human society at the present moment is not in the darkness of oblivion. It has made rapid progress in the field of material comforts, education, and economic development throughout the entire world. But there is a pinprick somewhere in the social body at large, and therefore there are large-scale quarrels, even over less important issues. There is need of a clue as to how humanity can become one in peace, friendship, and prosperity with a common cause. That's a good sentence to keep with you when you're distributing the Bhagavatam. Yeah, there's a need of clue as to how humanity can become one in peace, friendship, and prosperity with a common cause. Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need, for it is a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. What's it for? It's for a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire world. Try saying that. It's a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. Go ahead. Yeah, so when you go out today to distribute Bhagavatam, you say, it's a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. Go ahead, try it. It's like poetry, isn't it? It's a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization. Srimad Bhagavatam should be introduced also in the schools and colleges. Thank you, devotees all over the world who are doing that. For it is recommended by the great student devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, in order to change the demoniac face of society. Quoted here is a verse from the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the child saint, Prahlad. Kumara acharit pragno dharman bhagavatam iha turlabham manusham janma tarapya dhruvam artadam. Disparity in human society is due to lack of principles in a godless civilization. There is God, or the Almighty One, from whom everything emanates, from whom everything is maintained, and in whom everything is merged to rest. Material science has tried to find the ultimate source of creation very insufficiently, but it is a fact that there is one ultimate source of everything that be. This ultimate source is explained rationally and authoritatively in the beautiful Bhagavatam or Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the transcendental science not only for knowing the ultimate source of everything, but also for knowing our relation with Him and our duty toward perfection of the human society on the basis of this perfect knowledge. It is powerful reading matter in the Sanskrit language, and it is now rendered into English elaborately so that simply by a careful reading, one will know God perfectly well, so much so that the reader will be sufficiently educated to defend himself from the onslaught of atheists. Over and above this, the reader will be able to convert others to accepting God as a concrete principle. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the definition of the ultimate source. It is a bona fide commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the same author, Srila Vyasadeva, and gradually it develops into 9 cantos up to the highest state of God realization. The only qualification one needs to study this great book of transcendental knowledge is to proceed step by step, cautiously, and not jump forward haphazardly like with an ordinary book. It should be gone through chapter by chapter, one after another. The reading matter is so arranged with its original Sanskrit text, its English transliteration, synonyms, translation, and purport, so that one is sure to become a God-realized soul at the end of finishing the first 9 cantos. The 10th canto is direct. The 10th canto is distinct from the first 9 cantos because it deals directly with the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. One will be unable to capture the effects of the 10th canto without going through the first 9 cantos. The book is complete in 12 cantos, each independent, but it is good for all to read them in small installments, one after another. I must admit my frailties in presenting Srimad Bhagavatam, but still I am hopeful of its good reception by the thinkers and leaders of society on the strength of the following statement of Srimad Bhagavatam. If you like, we can sing it together. Tadvag visargo janatagha viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abhadyavatyapi namanyanantasya yashon kitani yach Trinvanti gayanti grananti sadhava. On the other hand, that literature which is full with descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, and pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a transcendental creation meant to bring about a revolution in the impious lives of a misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literature, even though irregularly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Om Tat Sat, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Okay, so just take a moment and turn to somebody next to you and share one thing that you remember hearing from this, and then the person you shared it with will share it with all of us. Just take 3 minutes. I'll mark the time so you don't have to worry. You break up into your smaller Zoom rooms. 17 seconds. Okay. Let's take a few reflections, anything that you heard from the person who talked to you. Yes, Navina Prabhu, please give him the microphone as quickly as possible. 3 seconds or less or your money back from this class.
Hare Krishna. So Brajananda Prabhu was saying that the world is going to hell. And that if we distribute his knowledge, especially in the colleges and universities, to the students, to the intelligence section, then there is hope. There is something that can be done.
Thank you very much for sharing what Brajananda Prabhu said. Good to hear there's a solution. Oh, now he's going to tell what Navina said.
Navina said that it's a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization for human society. The entire human society.
For the entire human society. It's a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. So if we wake you up at 1 o'clock tomorrow in the morning, what's this about? You'll say? Good. All right. Training our armies here to go out. Okay, let's see. A couple more. Yes, Srivata. We have a think tank in the back there.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Yes.
So we had like a 3-person group, myself, Govind Prabhu, and Radhakripa Prabhu.
That's
and
powerful.
We were talking about, so myself and Govind Prabhu also noticed how at the end it said that verse talks about that this contains descriptions of the name, forms, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord, and it's, I can't remember, thoroughly relished by honest men. Is that what it said? It said something about honest men, and I think that was a point that both myself and Prabhu...
It's heard, sung, and accepted by honest men who are thoroughly, purified men who are thoroughly honest.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
And we were appreciating how it's ultimately accepted by those who are honest, and it takes a level of honesty to be able to accept the whatever is presented in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Radhakripa Prabhu liked the same thing, cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of human society. And we started discussing about what culture was actually being presented, because I mean, I would say it's flawed to be like, oh, this is like Indian culture being presented or something, when really it's ultimately a larger Vedic culture that is being presented. And Radhakripa Prabhu made the point that since it's a culture that's being presented, it's essentially propagating a certain lifestyle that is to be followed by those who want to attain the highest thing.
Well, you got the foundation for a PhD thesis paper right out of those 3 minutes, didn't you? Thank you very much. Yes, Malini.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, we have Omid here. We met him at the San Jose airport yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, and he just came to the table and asked, what is this about? And he said that I want to...
Well, it's a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society.
So we told him about the bhakti yoga that we do here, and then he said, I'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. And then I thought, I don't know if he's going to show up. I was just waiting outside, and then he just showed up. And he was mentioning how he speaks Persian, and he mentioned how his quest in trying to understand different religions, and he said that everything points to the same Supreme God. And he's just taking in all the information that you just mentioned today morning. And then he said that this opens his mind to a whole different philosophy. And he's very intrigued by it.
Oh, thank you. How do you say your name? Omi?
Omid.
Omid.
Yes, would
Okay.
be at the end. It
Okay,
means
omid,
ambition
omid.
in Persian.
What does it mean?
Ambition.
Ambition.
Yeah.
Spiritual ambition. Omid. Thank you very much, Omid. Okay. Yes, Sukeshwari. Oh, please. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Sukeshwari Mataji, she also mentioned about that sentence. It's a cultural, that Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a cultural presentation of the spiritualization for the entire human society. So I think I will just memorize it forever now. And also Sukeshwari Mataji, she was mentioning that in Srimad Bhagavatam, everybody can find the answers for all the questions. So it's so deep and you can read it forever and over again find the answers.
Yes. It's crisscross.
She actually made some very nice points, Prabhu. I don't have all of them, so why not?
Okay.
Yes, I like when devotees are churning Srimad Bhagavatam together, and also it might be like few sentences, but everybody's highlighting like certain points, like from different angles. So this is how it comes up. Like when you read together, it's sweeter, and you can go deeper in the verse. Like everyone is can look from the different angles there.
Yes, this is an excellent point. Could you bring me the first, the Adi Leela Volume 1, please? And then in the first chapter, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami quotes from the Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Just, it's right there in the first chapter. I think it's verse number 24. So in the opening chapter of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the postgraduate study of the Bhagavatam, we have Kaviraj Goswami, the author, who's quoting a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, which is in harmony with our conversation today. And in that verse, Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam. So the first line says, Tesham satati. Tesham, those people, he's talking about those who are engaged in devotional service, who are spiritual practitioners. Satata means always. And yuktana means they're always connected to me. They're always engaged. Yukta. Yuktanam. Satatam. Tesham satati yuktanam. Bhajatam. Bhajatam means that they're worshiping with their hearts. So there's a process for worshiping God given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which starts with hearing. So the first thing is to hear, to listen to authorized sources of knowledge about God. And we don't need to do much more than that to learn everything we need to know. In fact, that's something Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Maya sakta manaparta yogam yunjan marashaya ashamshayam samagramam yata gyasasi tashrinu, which means that if you just listen to this very carefully, like you have all been doing your whole lives, then you come to know everything. If you just listen. Maya sakta. And he says, how should you listen? With your mind attached. You should be really attached to it. So that's important because sometimes, as we were saying before, as I was saying before, people often think the spiritual life means to become detached from everything. But here we find in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says you should become attached. Your mind should be attached to what? Hearing. Shrinu means hear. And tashrinu. Maya sakta manaparta yogam yunjan marashaya ashamshayam. Without any doubt, he said. Samagramam yata gasasi tashrinu. You'll come to know everything necessary if you listen with an attached mind. So this verse now, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam, appears here in this book, and you'll find that there's a lot of cross-referencing in these famous books on bhakti. So each book will, the author and commentators will quote from other books. So in this we find the Bhagavad Gita, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And Gita Priya, could you please read the purport?
This verse of the Bhagavad Gita 10.10 clearly states how Govindadeva instructs his bona fide devotee. The Lord declares that by enlightenment in theistic knowledge, He awards attachment for Him to those who constantly engage in His transcendental loving service. This awakening of divine
consciousness. The Lord declares that by enlightenment in theistic knowledge, that's powerful, isn't it? By enlightenment in theistic knowledge, that you could add that to your repertoire, He awards attachment for Him to those who constantly engage in His transcendental love. So there's an award. It's a great day to celebrate when you notice that you've developed an attachment for it. And it's an award that one achieves. Yes.
This awakening of divine consciousness enthralls a devotee who thus relishes his eternal transcendental mellow. Such an awakening is awarded only to those convinced by devotional service about the transcendental nature of the personality of Godhead. They know that the supreme truth, the all-spiritual and all-powerful person, is one without a second and has fully transcendental senses. He is the fountainhead of all emanations. Such pure devotees, always merged in knowledge of Krishna and absorbed in Krishna consciousness, exchange thoughts and realizations as great scientists exchange their views and discuss the results of their research in scientific academies.
Now read that last sentence again, but do it with a little more drama, like you're on a stage and you're presenting to a huge auditorium.
Such pure devotees, always merged in knowledge of Krishna and absorbed in Krishna consciousness, exchange thoughts and realizations as great scientists, exchange their views and discuss the results of their research in scientific academies.
Very good. But do it one more time with even a little more drama.
Such pure devotees, always merged in knowledge of Krishna and absorbed in Krishna consciousness, exchange thoughts and realizations as great scientists exchange their views and discuss the results of their research in scientific academies.
Bharat, which was the best version? 1, 2, or 3? 3. Okay.
Such exchanges of thoughts in regard to Krishna give pleasure to the Lord, who therefore favors such devotees with all enlightenment.
See? If you take part in an assembly where there are these kinds of discussions going on, and the purpose is to understand the source of everything, then there's a way in which God, who's within our hearts, enlightens us, enlightens all the participants with transcendental knowledge and awareness of who that source is. Because with our senses, because we're infinitesimal, we cannot understand the Supreme. However, He has the right to reveal Himself to whomever He chooses. That's the meaning of being infinite. The infinite can always choose to reveal Himself to the infinitesimal. And these are the circumstances under which He does it. When one comes together and discusses, like scientists exchanging their views and discussing the results of their research in scientific academies, just like that. I think that was the point you were making. Okay, so we'll just take one more. Yes, 1, 2.
So Pavni Bhakti and I were talking. She brought out the point that we should read the first 9 chapters in order to go to the 10th. And also I remembered that Prabhupada mentioned that it should not be read like haphazardly, like an ordinary book. So we have to go systematically. And eventually our discussion where we were glorifying Srila Prabhupada, that the preface itself is so, impressive, and how he's a scholar, he's genius, but he's really empowered. We can make out just by reading this. So that's what the conclusion was.
Yeah, don't be haphazard. What's the word? Where does it come from? It's a kind of interesting word. Haphazard. From our research team.
Haphazard is an adjective. It means lacking any obvious principle of organization.
Sounds like me. Okay. That's it? Where does it come from? Etymology.
It's from the 1670s, and it just says,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
it just says English, so the late 16th century.
That's it?
And hazard.
That's what etymology says?
Or, yeah, it says that. So hap means chance and luck.
Hap means chance.
And then hazard is risk or danger.
Okay, haphazard. That's a good word. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, there was one more.
I was speaking with Kameshwari Mataji, and our point was similar to what Shamalangi Mataji said about reading all the cantos in order. And Mataji was sharing that it's not an ordinary thing to realize God, because many people know God, but to be able to realize God by reading the 9 cantos is not an ordinary achievement.
Certainly not. It's extraordinary. But we're equipped for it. The Srimad Bhagavatam itself says, Nrideham adyam sulabham sadulabham blavam sukalpam gurukarnadaram mayana kulin and abhasvateritam. Who can give the last line? Go ahead.
Puman virajyet natarit sa atmaha.
Yes, say it again. Puman bhavadin. Puman?
Natarit sa atmaha. Natarit sa
Natarit
atmaha.
sa atmana. Just put the verse up, please. Nrideham adyam sulabham sadulabham plavam sukopam gurukarnadaram mayanakalam. 11:20:17. This verse says that the human body is a boat, and its potential is to go across the ocean of the material world. The ocean of the material world means that it's an ocean of birth and death, and it's fraught with miseries. We're stranded in the middle of the ocean. Nobody can swim across the ocean. And grabbing onto the tail of a dog, hoping the dog will take you across, that doesn't work either. So that's compared to making one's own solutions here in the world. So this tells how to use the boat. Nri means human, deham means body. Adyam sulabham sadulabham. So it's a source of all favorable results, and it's very rarely achieved, the human body. You know, at the time when you leave this body, you can say, I'd like to sign up for another human body, but it's not guaranteed. It's like, we'll think it over. Maybe not. You might go to sleep as a man, wake up as a dog. Plavam sukalpam gurukarnadaravam means that it's a boat, the body's a boat, and then what you need is a guru as the captain. And then you need favorable breezes, mayanukulin and abhasvateritam. Means that you get the favorable breezes from here in Srimad Bhagavatam. And then puman bhavabdim na taretsa atmaha. If you don't take advantage when you have the opportunity, then you're known to be an atmaha. It means you're killing yourself because you ignored the opportunity or you passed on it, so you didn't take advantage. So we should use the human boat, organize life in such a way that we can have the favorable breezes all the time and also have a captain. Make sure that you have good guidance, and then you can cross over the ocean of the material world. Does that sound like a good idea? Yes. Please say yes. Yes. It's an excellent idea. Okay, so I'm just going to read a tiny bit more, and then we're going to break for the Guru Puja, the Founder-Acharya Puja, in just a moment. But I want us to hear the first verse of the Bhagavatam, the second canto. The verse is, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Om means, O my Lord. Namaha means my respectful obeisances unto you. Bhagavate, unto the personality of Godhead. Vasudevaya, unto Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. O my Lord, translation, O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. Vasudevaya means to Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Since by chanting the name of Krishna, Vasudeva, one can achieve all the good results of charity, austerity, and penances, it is to be understood that by the chanting of this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, the author or the speaker or any one of the readers of Srimad Bhagavatam is offering respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the principles of creation are described. And thus, the first canto may be called creation. Similarly, in the second canto, the post-creation cosmic manifestation is described. The different planetary systems are described in the second canto as different parts of the universal body of the Lord. For this reason, the second canto may be called the cosmic manifestation. There are 10 chapters in the second canto, and in these 10 chapters, the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam and the different symptoms of this purpose are narrated. The first chapter describes the glories of chanting, and it hints at the process by which the neophyte devotees may perform meditation on the universal form of the Lord. In the first verse, Shukadeva Goswami replies to the question of Maharaj Parikshit, who asked him about one's duties at the point of death. Maharaj Parikshit was glad to receive Shukadeva Goswami, and he was proud of being a descendant of Arjuna, the intimate friend of Krishna. Personally, he was very humble and meek, and he expressed his gladness that Lord Krishna was very kind to his grandfathers, the sons of Pandu, especially his own grandfather, Arjuna. And because Lord Krishna was always pleased with Maharaj Parikshit's family, at the verge of Maharaj Parikshit's death, Shukadeva Goswami was sent to help him in the process of self-realization. Maharaj Parikshit was a devotee of Lord Krishna from his childhood, so he had natural affection for Krishna. Shukadeva Goswami could understand this devotion. Therefore, he welcomed the questions about the king's duty. Because the king hinted that worship of Lord Krishna is the ultimate function of every living entity, Shukadeva Goswami welcomed the suggestion and said, because you have raised questions about Krishna, your question is most glorious. The translation of the first verse is as follows. So, this opening scene is full of the devotion of the Srimad Bhagavatam because it's mentioning already the personal nature of the relationship that a living entity has with God. There's a tendency for those who take up a spiritual process to speculate and think that because my relationships in this material world are temporary and oftentimes painful, even in the best of circumstances. I remember when my parents became elderly, and then my father died first, and then we're having some kind of a gathering, in his honor. And they made a poster of my father, and it said, we had a good run. In other words, there was this idea that we really went for it, and they did too. I mean, they, in many different fields, they really went for it, but it's like we had a good run. But the idea was, and then, it was over. So even in the best of circumstances, and you do your very best in the material world, you had a good run, and then it's over. So you have to start again. And so one might think that because material relationships are temporary and they may be troublesome, they are troublesome because there's a beginning and an end, or there may be a kind of acerbic nature to one's relationship that's painful to the heart. So then one might think that actually spiritual life means there's no personal relationships. There's no personality, in fact. But this is refuted in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that because we have personality, we can't be more than our original source. Our original source has to be fully cognizant and also have personality. And it's also mentioned here how Parikshit Maharaj was devoted to Krishna from his very birth. And this is a great advantage if someone can be born into an environment where they feel inclined towards Krishna. They grew up with him. They know the feelings that are there when one is singing his names and having association with his devotees and so forth. But even if one hasn't had this, anyone can pick up that spirit at any time in his or her life by association with those who have it, and also by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in their association. And this is very important because we understand Krishna ultimately through our loving devotion. And that is not something that can be developed intellectually, although it helps to fortify one's intelligence through understanding the logic behind there being a God. For instance, it's not logical to be an atheist, because if you say there's no God, then that means you just contradicted yourself, because you would have to be omniscient to know that. That means you're God. So there are various arguments like that throughout these wisdom literatures, the Srimad Bhagavatam. However, there's a heartfulness that develops in association with those like Parikshit Maharaj, who just love Krishna. And if we hear about them and we understand that there's a personal relationship, and somehow or other we catch it, just like you can catch things from people. We understand that principle nowadays. So we want to catch that spirit of devotion and that mood of devotion between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadeva Goswami, and it can be done in the association of devotees. Then one's life becomes productive. Because when the heart is addicted to matter, then it becomes like matter, and it's hard. So our natural state, as mentioned here, is to love Krishna, as the natural state of water is liquidity, fluidity. So sometimes it comes into an unnatural state where it freezes and it becomes hard. So we're naturally devoted to Krishna. Our hearts naturally go to him. But right now, because of association with television, our hearts are now frozen. If you listen to TV, your heart will freeze. You can tell that to the kids. Or Instagram. It'll freeze your heart. And then your heart becomes frozen, and it's very difficult for the heart to flow to Krishna. So we can regularly hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, and during the Kartik, or running up to Kartik, I'm going to do some extra sessions. Whether you can come or not, I don't know, because they're at all different odd times, because my schedule's so full of different meetings that are happening here, there, and everywhere. We tried to jam them in every possible place we could. Normally, we'd be off to Govardhan and just be free to hear and chant all day long. But now we're realizing that that's a rare opportunity. You don't always get it. And by the way, you could tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I've been saying for many years, don't take books for granted, because it's not guaranteed that you can always get everything you want. Haven't I been saying that? Somebody verify? Have I said it more than once? Many times. And just now there's a supply chain kerfuffle going on in the world where it's very difficult to get books, and it could get worse. And so there's that, and then there's the opportunity to hear the books. May say, oh, I'll do it later, but you might not get that either. I was thinking that because right now, due to world circumstances, it's been a little troublesome going out to the same place where we usually go. Back to the point. We're going to be having some extra hearing and chanting sessions here, there, and everywhere, to TBA, to be announced. And if you can come, fine. And if you can't, they'll be online. And if you can't do that, they'll be recorded. But I'm thinking about reading the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's so nice. There's a lot of previous points in here, but I got to fill it in a little bit more. Can't mark everything, then you can't find anything because they're all marked. So thank you, everybody, for coming and spending the morning here hearing chanting. There's a little bit more. We're going to have a special ceremony right now. In our organization, we have a worship service for the Vaishnav, the devotee who started the organization and who's a pure devotee. His only intention is to serve Krishna. And therefore, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned that to offer homage to such a person actually augments one's own sense of devotion, one's heart. So we have this next program where we're going to sing a song in Bengali that venerates the founder of our organization, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who we see sitting here on this ornate seat, which, by the way, is called the seat of Vyas. Vyas is the one we've been talking about, whose son is Shukadev Goswami and who brought us the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the reason he sits on that seat is because he's representing Vyas. Just as if a viceroy, we don't have viceroys, do we, in this country? If the vice president goes to another country, everyone treats him like the president, and which may not be good these days. I don't know, but you're supposed to offer some special respect to, like a king or a leader. But if it's a representative of the king, you also give them the same seat. Just as if the representative of, I don't know, Sony, is Sony still a thing? Sony Pictures comes here, then we will honor him and ask him to make a few movies for us. So that's why we're going to do this next program. Thank you very much, everybody. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpadurvishcha kripasindhabevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Let's thank all the devotees who joined us online from various places around the world. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Oh, that's okay. I haven't gotten that far into them either. Do you know them?
Kind of. I'm still like struggling.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. I think I have them recorded too.
Okay, yeah,
So we can go over it. Thank you. No, it was good though. We got in the groove. Thank you.
We were technically, Mataji told you, but I'll be going to India next Sunday.
Oh, she did tell me.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Hare Krishna. Nice. Would everyone like to recite this prayer? Is that a yes? Yeah. Okay. Namashreshtam manamapi shachi. I'll start over. Namashreshtam manamapi shachiputra matra sarupam. Shirupam tasya grajam uruparim maturim goshtavatim. Radha kundam girivaramoho radhika madhavasham. Prapto yasya pratita kripaya shri gurum tandatosmihi. He Guru Jnanadadina Bandho Swananda Data Karanaika Sendo Vrindavana Sila Hitavata Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara. He Dina Bandho Karanaika Sendo Guru Prasada Mai Mandamudhe Raksha Paradhe Bahupapadadhe Tatpada Padme Stumatishta Krishna. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Sarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatana Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Shri Radhika and Madhava and Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I'm a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen against myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Shri Krishna. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the universe. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Gahati Sadna. Kale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine. Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyabhadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Kali Kupurdhani Jadi Chao Kali Yuga Pavana Kali Boy Nashana Shishakti Nana Gao Hey. Dharma Dhan Taye Pranadhan Advaita Prabhujita Gaura. Nimani Vishambhar Srinivasishwar Bhaktasamuva Chitta Chora. Nadia Shashalar Mai Purishwa Nam Pravartana Sura. Kulanayaka Madhavarada Baba Pura Sarvabhauma Shodana Gajapati Tarana Ramananda Poshana Vira Rupananda Bhadana Sanatana Palana Haridas Modana Vira Rajaras Bhavana Dishamatosha Kapatiti Katana Kama Shuddha Bhakta Palana Shuksha Jnana Dharana Chala Bhakti Dushana Rama Kali Kupurtaram Jadi Chao to chase away the dog, mad dog Kali, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Kali Dukkha Pavana Pum Purnashina Sisati Nana Kao Hey. Hare Haraya Namah Shayadevaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopal Govindaram Simadhusudan Kirari Gopinath Madan Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupi Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath Shri Gila Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Echai Gosar Kori Charana Bandani Jaha Hoite Dignanan Avishta Puran Echai Gosai Jar Muitar Das Tansavara Pararinu Mora Panchagras Tangaracharam Nakede Bhakta Sanivan Janavitalam me hoye avilas Jai Gosai Jale Tatya Kulabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash Shri Shri Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash Bolo Anande Bolo Hare Bhaja Vrindavan Bolo Anande Bolo Hare Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Madhuryaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Kori Ash नाम संकीर्तन कोहे नरोत्तम दास Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Haribo, Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prevrajacharya Stotarishtarshi Shimad Abhay Charana Ravind Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prevrajacharya Stotarishtarshi Shimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Jagoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Sambheda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribo. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. Exactly. Thank you. How many days until Kartik? 4? 4 only? We just need a little warm-up for the Damodarashtakam. Just a warm-up, because in the mood. And Shamalinga, you're leaving tomorrow? All right. We still need a warm-up. Could we have the Damodarashtakam? Mm-hmm. Where's Shastrasar? Could you come up?
Yes, sir. Namami Shwaram Satchit Anandarupam Rasakundalam Gopi Devajamanam Yashoda Vyolokala Dhavamanam Paramrisamatyanta Todritya Gopya Yashoda Vyolokala Dhavamanam Paramrisamatyanta Todritya Gopya Vyolokala Rudantam Muhurnetrayumam Rijantam Karam Bhoja Yugamena Satam Kanetra Muhurnetrayumam Rijantam Karam Bhoja Yugamena Satam Kanetra Rudantam Muhurnetrayumam Rijantam Karam Bhoja Yugmena Satam Kanetram Muhurnetrayumam Sitagraivaramo Dharam Bhaktivardham Shvasakam Patririkhankakantha Sitagraivaramo Bhaktivardham Swarila Kunde Sarvosham Nimajjantam Akhyapayantam Iti Driksvarila Kunde Sarvosham Nimajjantam Akhyapayantam Tadiyeshitargeshu bhaktir-tattvam Punah prematastam sata vritti-vande Tadiyeshitargeshu bhaktir-tattvam Punah prematastam sata vritti-vande Varam deva moksham na mokshavadhimva na chanyam praneham vareshadapiha mokshavadhimva na chanyam praneham vareshadapiha Varam deva moksham na mokshavadhimva Nachanyam praneham vareshadapiha Varam mokshavadhimva Idam teva purnatha gopal balam Sada me manasya virastam kimanye Idam teva purnatha gopal balam Sada me manasya virastam kimanye Idam te mukham bhojam atyanta nile Vritam kuntalai snigdha raktaishcha gopya Mohoshumbitam bimba raktadharam me Mana Manasya virastamalam lakshalape virastamalam Namoshum vitam bimbaratadharam me Manasya virastam alam lakshalape Adharam me Manasya virastam lakshalape Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabho Dukha Jalabhimagna Damodarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabho Dukha Jalabhimagna Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabho Dukha Jalabhimagna Kripa drishti vrishyati dinam batano Grihane samamagyame yakshi drishya Kripa drishti vrishyati dinam batano Grihane samamagyame yakshi drishya Kuveratmajo Vardhamurtyevayadva Vayamochito bhakti bhajo krito cha Kuveratmajo Vardhamurtyevayadva Vayamochito bhakti bhajo krito cha Tatha prema bhaktim swakame prayacha Namokshe graho mesti damodareha Tatha prema bhaktim swakame prayacha Namokshe graho mesti damodareha Namaste Sudame Surakirti Dhame Variyodarayata Vishwasya Dhame Namaste Sudame Surakirti Dhame Variyodarayata Vishwasya Dhame Namo Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Anantalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Radhikaya Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Anantalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, we're going to have announcements in just 1 minute, but we have to hear just one stanza from the Prayers to Live in Govardhan. If you sing this prayer, it'll transport you to Govardhan and become your eternal home. So if you'd rather live in Cupertino, cover your ears. Nijavati puja dandash chatrabhavam prapadya hati hati madadrishtod danda devendra garva atula pratula shaila shreni bhupa priyam Nija nikati nivasam dehi govardhana tvam. All right, a couple more. Pramadamadana lila kandare kandare te nachayati navayunor dvandvamasmin amannam itakila kananartam Lagna kastatvayorme Nija nikata nivasam
Dehi Govardhanatam Anupamamani Vedi Ratna Simhasanorvi Ruhajara Dashan Droni Sangeshu Rangai Sahabhava Sakibhi Sam Svipriyam. Do-over. Sorry. Anupamamani Vedi Ratna Simhasanorvi Ruhajara Dashano Doni Sangeshu Rangai Sahabhava Sankibhisam Kelayam Priyam Me Nijanikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatam Rasa Sindhu Navayuno Sakshinandana Kele Tuti Parimala Vidvams Shama Vedhim Prapashya Rasika Varakulanam Modamasphalayame Nijanikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatam Haridayitam Purvam Radhika Kunda Atma Priya Sakamiha Kante Narmana Lingya Gupta Navayuva Yuga Kelas Tatra Pashyandra Home Nijanikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatam Stala Jalatala Shashpar Puru Hachcha Yayacha Pratipada Manukalam Hanta Sarvadayanga Shri Jagati Nija Gotram Sartakam Kyapayanme Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatam Surapati Krita Dirga Droha Hatto Chashosh Tavanavagriha Rupas Yantare Kurvataiva Agapaka Vipuno Chair Dattamana Drutamme Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatam Girindripahari Dasa Shreni Varyeti Nama Ritamidhamutam Shri Radhika Vaktra Chandra Rajanavati Lakatve Krita Vedas Putamne Nijanikati Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatam Nijajana Yukta Radha Krishna Visakta Rajanara Pashu Pakshi Vrata Sokyaika Data Aganita Kurayan Tvam Mam Uru Kritvatantam Nijanikati Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatam Nirupadi Karunena Shri Shachinandanena Tvaikapati Shato Tvatpriyam Narpitosmi Itakalo Mama Yogya Yogyatam Tanu Brindam Nijanikati Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatam Rasadata Shakamasya Shila Govardhanasya Shitidara Kula Vartu Ya Prayatnati Te Sasapadi Supadis Vasamasadya Sakshat Shubhada Yugala Seva Ratnamatnoti Turnam. O Govardhan, O King of all incomparable great mountains, O hill that became an umbrella with the arm of your Lord, own Lord, as the handle, and then destroyed the pride of the Deva king, madly attacking with raised weapons, please grant me the residence near you that is so dear to me. O Govardhan, please grant me the residence near you that will guarantee the sight of the youthful divine couple as they enjoy transcendental amorous pastimes in your caves. O Govardhan, O hill where Lord Krishna happily plays with Balaram and his friends in the incomparable jeweled courtyards, jeweled lion thrones, trees, waterfalls, mountain brooks, caves, peaks, and valleys. Please grant me the residence near you that is so dear to me. O Govardhan, O hill that provides the dark courtyard that witnesses the Dana Keli pastime of the nectar treasure, youthful divine couple, O hill that brings great bliss to the best of those who relish transcendental nectar, please grant the residence near you that is so dear to me. O Govardhan, O hill that is hiding as you playfully embrace the neck of your dear friend, Lord Hari's dear, unprecedented Radhakunda, secretly gazes at the pastimes of the youthful divine couple. Please grant me residence near you. O Govardhan, O hill that by nourishing the cows with its water, grass, and the shade of its trees, declares to the three worlds the appropriateness of its own name. Please grant me residence near you. O Govardhan, O hill, the enemy of Aga and Paka, honored by transforming into a new house to give Raja protection from the sustained fury of the Sura king, please grant me residence near you. O Govardhan, O king of mountains, O hill whose nectar name, the best of Lord Hari's servants, flows from the moon of Sri Radha's mouth. O hill that the Vedas declare to be the tilak marking of Raja, please grant me residence near you. O Govardhan, O philanthropist that gives transcendental happiness to Vraja's people, animals and birds, all anointed with the nectar of friendship for Sri Sri Radha Krishna, surrounded by their friends, out of your immeasurable mercy, please accept unhappy me and grant me residence near you. Although I am a cheater and a criminal, unlimitedly merciful Lord Sachinandan, who is very dear to you, has given me to you. O Govardhan, please do not consider whether I am acceptable or not, but simply grant me residence near you. One who carefully reads these 10 verses, praising the King of Mountains, will attain a joyful residence near Govardhan Hill and will swiftly attain the jewel of Radha and Krishna's divine loving service. Verse 1, please. Nijapati Bhuja Dandash Chatra Bhavam Prapadya Pratihata Mada Drishtar Danda Devendra Garva Atula Pritula Shaila Sheni Bhupa Priyame Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam Atula Pritula Shaila Shreni back Shreni Bhupa Priyame Nija Nikati Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam. Shri Giraj Govardhan ki jai, Shri Kartik Vrat ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Please have announcements now. So we have our Sankirtan announcements, we have festival announcements, we have Bhakti community announcements. Okay.
Go back to Rajbhog service. Hare Krishna. Such a wonderful morning we had this morning, and it was so sweet, Damodar Ashtakam. And very happy to have the Damodar Ashtakam and setting up the mood and getting warm up. And we all look forward to the Kartik Mass very much. And we have a Kartik special. And one of that, something that we haven't had it in a long, long time, that Vaisesika Prabhu's presence at Kartik at ISV. I know he's probably torn, his heart is in Govardhan and he's physically here. However, he's going to make this very beautiful month for us by having a special reading programs this month, and all the details will be sent. Gandharvika Mataji will send it out in ISV Connect, so you don't have to remember all the dates that I'm going to let you know right now, but I want you to make an arrangement in your schedule so you could be here in person to take the nectar and soak it up as much as you can. And any vrata can be done in Kartik multiplies by thousands of times. So what we have here, that Vaisesika Prabhu has proposed many dates here, October 19th, October 28th, 26th, 27th, 22nd, 29th. So we have probably around 6-7 dates that he will be having a special reading at night in the evening. And we will, if that's in person at the temple and scheduled, please look out for it. Okay, Hare Krishna. Jai Madhav Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Just wanted to provide a quick update on the Bhakti community progress this week. As you know, whenever you go out and give books, please also introduce Bhakti community, where every week we meet with newcomers and share Bhakti realizations with them. Please continue to enter book scores, which was entered last MSF. And in case you have any questions, please reach out to Santosh Chaitanya Prabhu, who has been very meticulously helping out the entire Sankirtan team in entering books. So please do reach out to him. It's my bad. I've been coordinating with Santosh Chaitanya Prabhu to share the names of those who entered the book score, which Vaisesika Prabhu had mentioned.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, nice. Okay.
Gifts for everybody I'm bringing who entered their scores through the
app.
Through the app.
Yes.
I'll have a list. So please come collect your reward tomorrow.
So all those who entered, they'll be sent out an email, and tomorrow after the program, we can have the gifts given to them. Thank you. Next, Comunidad Bhakti Circle finally started this month, and Prema Rupa Madham Prabhu and Prema Rupani Madhavi Mataji, they've been very ecstatic. They shared this. We want to share with all of you that yesterday we had the first Bhakti Circle in Comunidad Bhakti. There were 25 newcomers and was an amazing experience for them and for us also. We divided the members in 5 groups. Thank you so much for all your support and blessings. Without that, nothing can happen. And they also shared reflections from one of the newcomers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Could not see me, but I was there until the end. Thank you very much. Very cute. And my morning mantra is Hare Krishna. Thank you so much also to Janki Mataji, who has been very diligently following up and helping the team out throughout. Next is a newcomer from Bhakti community visited ISV last week, and Sundaranand Prabhu and Akshay Prabhu kindly took care of them. And this is one of the reflections that we got. One of our Bhakti community members visited our ISV temple with his mom and had a good time chanting, dancing, and having prasadam. So thank you so much, Sundaranand Prabhu and Akshay Prabhu, personally taking care of them. When these newcomers come in, they have lots of questions, and it always helps when we have people personally answering them and guiding them throughout. So thank you so much for doing that. We have several reflections we have received. One was shared by Nam Chintamani Mataji, where one of the newcomer noted, "Never miss a chance to dance," by Vaisesika Prabhu. Newcomer, enlivened by the session today, made this card. So she made a card and kept it for herself. Kautukarna Prabhu shared realization from a newcomer where it was a spiritual food session in Bhakti Circle, and one of the session was you can even offer to books. So you can see that it's written, yes, tofu scrambled with ing instead of garlic and onion. So instead of, they replaced it and then offered it to Bhagavad Gita book as a spiritual food offering. So it was a nice step which was encouraged. I thought it broadened the discussion. Balance is about continual effort of getting to the middle. That was my favorite part. Also, I like the origin of jaded, the overrun horse. That helps me understand niyamagraha, taking the rules and practices for granted. So it was nicely shared. Krishna Prabhu also shared, wow, I loved that talk. So many good reflections I related to. If you took notes, would you mind sending them to me? I loved the analogy of medicine, the reflection on balance I related to, because when you walk on a stacked line, you always keep your eye on the end of the line and center yourself on a rope. Oh, what is it that you all say at the end of the call? Hari bol, keep the transcendental vibration going. Well, thank you. I love that and I believe it. Haha. Another one from Kautukarna Prabhu, where he shared, Hare Krishna Kautuk, what a wonderful meeting today. I was a little sleepier, but Bhakti discussion invigorated me again. It was so fascinating to think of the concept of like the different dimensions. Of course, we cannot understand everything because we only see 3 dimensions. In higher planets, they see multi-dimensional realities, traversing space and time. My favorite point was related to the qualification for understanding higher realms. When we are overstimulated by material world, this prevents us from being able to access our higher mind. Therefore, we must detach from material world and realize it is an exact reflection of the spiritual world. However, it is temporary. In this way, we can be in the world but not of it, similar to the lotus flower which grows from the water but is untouched by the water. This is another nice reflection. Lastly, Krishna Prabhu, I think we all are going out for book distribution, and he had few ways of sharing Bhakti community with newcomers and encouraging them to join. Krishna Prabhu, are you there? No? So I have updated the newcomer document where his messages are there, so please do take a look. And when you come in contact with newcomers, please do introduce Bhakti community with them. This Monday we have Bhakti on. Regularly 60 members participate. Bhakti Circle is on Thursday where around 40 members participate. And Idiom series Success Sadhana is on Friday where 70 members participate. Yeah. If it's okay, just 2 minutes so that it helps. Do you want to just share how you to introduce Bhakti community? I did put in the slide there. Yeah.
So what we do first is take the contact, and how we take, when we distribute the books, we take the contact, we ask, like, we have Zoom and yoga session, Zoom meditation sessions by advanced yogi and yogis and senior yoga teachers. And we also do yoga retreats where we do mantra music and vegan feast and yoga and everything. So generally by hearing, and I also say, like, we have our card in there, but if you prefer, we can stay in touch. And generally most of the time they give their contact. And then first time I send this text, like I have mentioned here, Good morning, John, my friend, and then it was very nice meeting you at After Shock Festival, and thank you for accepting the meditation book. We have a Zoom session today by a very advanced yogi who has been practicing spirituality for over 50 years. He gives seminars at leading Bay Area corporations and around the world. It is an hour-long session and starts at 5:30 p.m. Below is the Zoom link. Will you be able to join, my friend? And they usually they join if they are interested. So yeah, that's how we share. And mostly who are already into Bhagavad Gita and spirituality, they join. And then we introduce them in the Bhakti community. We be there, and that's why they feel nice also. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Krishna Prabhu. I mean, he has been very, he has developed a formula to introduce people, and that has worked well, so it was good to share. I do want to thank all the leaders also who have been diligently helping all these newcomers in all the programs and answering questions for them. So that was the update for Bhakti Community this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Jai Madhav Prabhu. From the book distribution, as we know, we are in the marathon now, which ends in first week of January. We are still compiling and getting the inventory of the books so we could come up with a goal. We have some preliminary goal, but we still have to ratify a little bit more to finalize the goal. But overall, we want to focus on distributing Bhagavad Gita, Science of Self-Realization, and other small books for between now and the end of the year. And we see that a lot of people are interested. They want to come, they want to read the books, and they are very receptive to the spiritual knowledge. And now we also have the Bhakti community which can take care of those who are interested. And last week was a really nice festival at Fremont where devotees distributed 10 Bhagavatam sets at the Fremont Diwali Mela. And the devotees, the young devotees at UC Davis, they had a successful Yoga of the Heart program where they distributed a lot of books headed by Kaylee and Avantika and others from UC Davis. And today we will continue our book distribution, and Western Sankirtan team have so many spots that I can't even remember. They have about 10 spots. They were covering all over the Bay Area. They are covering the airports in San Jose, airports in San Francisco. Then they are going to Santa Cruz, Monterey, Indian stores, and maybe Diwali Mela if nobody else is going. So they have a lot of spots. If you have an inclination to join their team, you can contact Haladarupa Prabhu or Kautukarna Prabhu, and they will put you in the right team. And there's also Kupatino Diwali Mela today, our very old Kupatino Diwali Mela, where we sit under the tree to distribute Bhagavatam sets. So we are going back again today. So if you are interested, you can contact Kameshwari, and we'll have door-to-door in San Ramon and something in Cupertino as well. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Today's Ekadashi, so fasting, except for there's prasadam this morning. Do we know who the cooks are? Avantika will announce the cooks.
Hare Krishna. Today's prasadam was cooked by Yashoda Kripa Prabhu, Hitesh Prabhu, Suyash Prabhu, Purushottam Garanga Prabhu, and Ramapriya Prabhu.
Jive pele vishaya shogare Tormoti boyati Lobum visu dumati Taki jeta katita sanctare Krishna bodha doyamor Gauri bari jiva jai Shaprashan Nadi loba Shayandamrita pa Radha Krishna gunaga Preme dako Shri Chaitanya dhita Preme dako Shri Chaitanya Dita Bhavshari Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Sapa Punya Batam Raja Vishasonanjai Sare Sarva Dukana Anirasyo Pujayate Prasana Chetaso Yashu Udipaya Patisata Tvayopa Bhukta Shraganda Vasalankar Charchitaha Utishta Bojino Kavamayam Jaimahi Bhagavat Shri Mahaprasada Ki Jai Barhapidam Natavarabapu Karniyo Karnikaram Bibradvasa Kanatakapisham Vaijayantim Chamalam Randran Venur Adara Sudaya Purnayan Gopa Vrindar Vrindaranyam Swapada Ramanam Pravisha Gita Kirti Tavakatamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravana Mangalam Shrimaratatam Bhuvigranantiye Buddhidajana Krishna Kirtanagana Nartanakala Pato Jandi Brajita Sadbhakta Balihamsa Chakra Madhupa Sheni Viharaspadam Karnanandikala Nirvahatu me Jiva Marupangane Shri Chaitanya Daya Nidheta Balasa Lila Sudaswarduni Elondunita Keraya Vishadaya Pronilaramodaya Shamya Shastra Vivaraya Rasataya Hitarpito Madaya Shashvad Bhakti Vinodaya Samadaya Madhurya Maryadaya Shri Chaitanya Daya Nidheta Madaya Bhuyanamando Daya Yakomara Harasa Eva Hibaras Ta Eva Chaitra Shapas Te Kon Milita Malati Surabaya Prodhakadambanila Sachai Vasmita Tapitatra Surata Vyapara Lila Vido Arodasibe Tale Cheta Samutkantate Shri Vishnu Shabane Parikshira Bavad Vaisesika Kirtane Praladhasmanane tarangri bhajane Lakshmi pritu pujane Akrurastra vibandane Patir daseta sakyarjuna Sarvasvatma nivedane harirabu Krishna Shambhara Aradyo Bhagavan Rajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavana Ramya Kachirupasana Vrajavidu Varghena Yakopita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Premat Maha Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tat Radhara Na Pa Ra Go Premanande Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Please come take prasadam. Haribo. Rajo Bhagavan Rajesha Tanayas